I got a story for you, Sarah. Recently, the
Yeah.
Ed Week Research Center surveyed over 200 educators, asking them to share their perspectives on growing concerns around the use of cell phones in schools. Teachers in the survey reported that they are fighting a losing battle, competing for their students' attention against devices that offer a universe of distraction for students. Many schools have adopted a no cell phones policy on their campus and have reported some positive outcomes. One middle school teacher in Tennessee noted, quote, "Our district has started a no cell phone policy this year, and the difference has been strictly positive. Students are paying attention more in classes, and there is nowhere near as much online bullying compared to previous years when cell phones were allowed." However, the survey also notes that some schools have experienced challenges in trying to limit cell phone use. Classroom cell phone bans are often difficult for teachers to enforce, with many survey respondents noting that any regulations in this area require significant support and follow through from school administration and even school districts to be effective. School cell phone bans can often be subject to pushback by parents who want to be able to reach their child at any time during the school day. Certainly, a common link here between addressing absenteeism and cell phone use is the idea that it requires a lot of different stakeholders to come together and to be on the same page in terms of how they want to address this particular problem, but certainly not an easy one for schools to navigate.
So my initial reaction when I heard that was that I've seen a lot of schools and school districts try to put policies like that in place, but at the end of the day it comes down to, and I should say it unfairly comes down to, a lot of times the classroom teacher to try to enforce those. So I'm glad that they mentioned that the reaction of some of the teachers was not as positive, because it is uh we have to think about, when we're trying to address an issue, not putting more things on a teacher that is going to distract from them being able to do their job. So let me take a step back. In theory, we're thinking about, okay, cell phones are causing a problem in schools. Here's going to be our solution: no more cell phones in schools. But then what's going to happen as soon as the kids come in the class? Because, like you said, parents aren't just going to magically say, all right, no more phones. Kids have to, sometimes they have to walk to school, they take a bus to school. Parents are going to want to be in touch with their kids for transportation. I mean, I think about the fact, and I know I sound very old as the millennial, but I think about the fact that how little contact my parents had with me as a child and how kids are now. And it's insane to think, my family went on a trip and we saw, I kid you not, a phone booth with a payphone. And I was saying
Whoa.
to take a picture because nobody is going to believe that this still exists. And I was telling my husband, a story about, yeah, when I was in school, we had, we, I sound so old right now, but there would be a line of us at the payphones to call our parents if something was going on, and we would call our parents and tell them something was going on at school, or, hey, my track practice got canceled, or no, there's no band concert tonight, or whatever it was. Can you imagine? I mean, that's not how we're going to operate now. So
I was just about to say, yeah, payphones, that historical relic of how we
yeah.
used to have to call our parents when we needed to be picked up from school. Or, sometimes I would forget my quarter, my 35 cents, depending on, what
35.
time
Yeah, I
of year
remember
it
the
was.
35 cents.
And I'd have to embarrassingly call my parents collect to get picked up from school. And so I can sympathize with some parents and some students who want to be able to have
There
the.
was no class dojo. There was no remind. There
That's
was
right.
no announcement going out. No, snow day or whatever.
Exactly. And so I sympathize with it, but I also can fully appreciate the distractive power of
Right.
cell phones. And one of the things that I noted in the survey was some of the students that they talked to about this actually responded positively to the limits on cell phones. They said it was such a relief to just know it wasn't there. So I didn't have
Mm.
the temptation to peek at my phone or to be distracted by it. But, I heard arguments on their side. There were some teachers who said, I like having a cell phone as a pedagogical tool. There's different platforms like Kahoot, for example, that
Right.
allow students to use their cell phones to answer questions in class and things like that. So it's a really multifaceted issue. And I'm always skeptical of just when new technology comes in, that our first reaction is we got to make it go away as quickly as possible rather than try to
Right.
find ways to leverage it. But boy, do I sympathize with people who want to try to limit these things because they are very distracting. And I very much sympathize with teachers who find these things to be a headache in the classroom environment.
So I think it has to, again, you don't want blanket statements or blanket policies when we're talking about a nuanced situation. I think it's very beneficial to survey the teachers and survey the schools to see, well, what's going on. I like the idea that even the students are buying into it. I think that there has to be a culture in the school and at the classroom level where we've agreed this is what's going to work or not work for us. And I think that having a situation at a school where students don't have one-to-one devices, for example, versus a school that has one-to-one devices or a bring your own device kind of setup is going to be very different, right? So there's going to be different solutions for those different classrooms. So what does the culture of your school look like? What are the distractions and what are we going to do to deal with this? It's almost like what you said earlier about it being a symptom. Is the cell phone the problem or is something else the problem? Bullying is a problem, the distractions are a problem, the lack of um, attention is a problem. So, yes, cell phones can be a problem, but passing notes can be a problem. Other things can be a problem. So, how do we address what's really going on?